Al McFarlane. Good morning. Welcome to Conversations with Al McFarlane. My distinct pleasure to have this conversation with Minnesota's Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan. Lieutenant Governor Flanagan, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Al. I'm good. It's good to see you.
There we go. Good to see you again.
You too. It's been a while. And happy Black History Month.
Well, thank you, and Happy New Year as well. You all are moving into the new legislative session. I think it begins today. What's on your mind? What's on the governor's mind as you move our state to dealing with the great problem of a $7 billion budget surplus? What are you thinking, and what do you want to happen?
Well, I think this is a tremendous opportunity for Minnesotans, and it is building on our COVID-19 recovery budget of 2021. We now have an opportunity here with a $7.7 billion budget to really move Minnesota forward, which means investing in children and families and community. Some of our top priorities are making sure that we fund childcare and lower costs for families across the state. One of the things that I've certainly been working towards for a very long time is a proposal to fully fund and forecast the Child Care Assistance Program, which would virtually eliminate the waiting list. Things like paid family and medical leave, earned sick and safe time are priorities as well. And then something again, as a child advocate, I'm pretty excited about is making sure that we have access to universal breakfast and lunch for every child who attends a public school. And those are things that are important in the long term for our state. But when we have an opportunity, the financial health of our state is good. And now is a time when we invest in communities and our future to ensure that it stays that way.
What would you say are the essential differences in the Waltz Flanagan approach to taking advantage of the budget opportunity and the point of view of the people from the other side of the aisle, the Republicans?
Well, I can only share with you, what they have told us, which is essentially no. I think no is not a plan. And when they have shared with us what they want to do, they continue to talk about tax cuts. But we know that those tax cuts that they are proposing go to the wealthiest Minnesotans. And so if we're going to give, tax relief to Minnesotans, that should be middle class and working folks. That's what our plan does. But that's essentially what we have heard is that they want to give tax cuts to the wealthiest Minnesotans. And I don't think that serves our state very well. And we're going to continue to work because I think Minnesotans are ready. They're ready to have the cost of childcare lowered and the cost of healthcare lowered and to invest in folks. And one of the things that you probably also heard about is we've talked about, they've now been called Walls checks, but giving, families swift relief. And so for a single individual, it's $175 direct, cash payment or $350 for a family. And I don't know about you, but I'm a mom of a 9-year-old who goes through gym shoes like nobody's business.
Sure,
and so,
sure.
That buys a lot of shoes, or it's 4 boxes of diapers. These are real costs that Minnesotans have, or a significant part of your rent or maybe your mortgage payment. So we can give people relief in the short term, but also start planning for long-term benefits for the entire state.
What big items or big plans are you mentioned education and children and families? Generally, what does this budget opportunity mean for housing challenges? What does it mean for public safety? And what does it mean for education? Those are 3 huge areas, I think, that affect everybody in the state. What do you think, Lieutenant Governor Flanagan?
Absolutely. So I'll start with housing. We have over $1 billion proposed in our budget to address issues of housing and support for our relatives experiencing homelessness. So there's a proposal, a historic proposal of $250 million in housing infrastructure bonds, as well as support for capital for local shelters, down payment assistance as well for families. And I know that in my community and in the Black community that home ownership is a real issue. So we have some proposals here too to make sure that we can increase home ownership in our BIPOC communities. I'm excited about that piece. And then some additional protections for renters are some of our policy proposals. But I'm sure you are familiar with the program Homework Starts with Home, which is provides essentially rental assistance for families so that our kiddos who may be at risk, their families for experiencing homelessness, can continue to live in the community where their school is and have that stability. We want to extend that for prenatal to age 3 as well for families. So that's pretty significant. And then on the public safety side, I'm proud of our proposal, and we focused on 3 areas. The first area is local law enforcement. And so making sure that cities can decide if they want to pay for additional first responders, police officers, but also mental health response, if that's something that is important in communities, and we want our local communities to be able to decide what's best for their own communities. The second piece is funding for community groups. So we know that funding youth intervention, out of school time, support for programs that encourage pastors, right, to stand on corners and have conversations, be in the community. That's critically important too. And then the last piece is our strategic violence prevention initiative, which is about being precise in going after the folks who are, perpetuating some of these violent crimes as well. And then for education, we've talked about this before, but we know that our children don't come in pieces. And so we have a proposal that focuses on making sure, of course, I just talked about meals. So it's sort of M&M, it's meals, mental health support for schools. We put additional dollars also on the education funding formula. We're still playing catch up. We had a big, investment last session, but there's more to do. And when you have a $7.7 billion surplus, now is the time to invest in our schools and our children who have really been through it in the last 2 years.
Are there specific Minneapolis bonding proposals you're following or supporting?
Yeah. So one of the things that we were able to do in 2020 was our equity and bonding proposal, and that was $30 million in cash that was set aside for programs led by and for Black, Indigenous, and communities of color led projects. And so that was passed. We've already seen that good work in organizations like Juxta and the Native American Community Clinic. So this year, because that has gotten such great results, we proposed $100 million in cash equity projects. So we proposed V3, which is on the north side. Additional
Right
support.
down the street for me.
Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely. Yep. When we go to church every Sunday, we drive right past it. And it was super exciting to go inside. I'm like, I know what that's going to be now. It's going to be beautiful. So we did a visit there with Senator Champion and Representative Agbaje as well, which was really cool to see it all. Phyllis Wheatley as well is in our bonding proposal. And then there's additional support for projects on the north side through Minneapolis Park and Rec. But really, there's an opportunity with this $100 million for our communities in a way that we've just never seen before. Like bonding for such a long time was a secret handshake behind closed doors. And even when I was in the legislature, I was like, I don't know how this deal is getting made. And so we wanted to pull the curtain back and make sure that our communities were part of that process. So we proposed $100 million. The governor and I have proposed 43 million of that go to specific projects like V3 or Phyllis Wheatley. But then the remaining 57 million, we want to work with the legislature and with the community to
Sure.
decide, where those dollars should go.
What are you looking at to close out, Lieutenant Governor Flanagan, in terms of the upcoming election? How are you organizing? What's the Walsh-Flanagan strategy for the elections in the fall? And I haven't asked this before, I'm not sure why I haven't, but after your second term, is there a possibility of a run for governor, for senator, for vice president, for president? What's ahead for Peggy Flanagan?
Well, thank you. What's immediately ahead for Peggy Flanagan is I want to get through this election and keep being your lieutenant governor. But never say never. I'm not going to take any options off the table. If Minnesota wants me to continue to lead, I would be honored to be able to do so. But here's what I'll say for this campaign: we are staffing up, and we are building out our team. Tonight are precinct caucuses, so encourage people to to attend. But we are building out a robust organizing program all across the state, and that's how we're going to win. And one of the things that I think people have seen is that the governor and I, it's been hard with COVID, but the governor and I really like getting out there and talking to folks and meeting with people. And I think, honestly, like that's the secret sauce, just being in community, hearing from folks. And I'm ready to hit the road. And I know that he is too. But we'd be honored and humbled to be able to continue in this role. We've got some work to do. And I think the budget that we just rolled out is the reason why we ran for office in the first place.
Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, thank you so much. Good to see you again. Good luck.
Good to see you. Thanks so much.